One of the beautiful things about this particular opportunity through Amway is that there's somebody that you can call that would be right there with you. And for me, I wasn't willing to make that call. I was like, I can do it myself. I'm self-made, all of those things that sound really great, but is actually very lonely.
I think for me, you talked a little bit about patience, but I think what people don't realize is, what's crazy for you guys, right? You got started in business at 18.
Yeah.
When I was 18, I couldn't spell business, but it took me 8 years to get my doctorate in physical therapy.
Wow.
So by no means was it a fast journey. And so I laugh sometimes when people see the Amway opportunity and think like, I'm going to get started and I'm just going to overnight, have this gigantic business, when in reality, everything that we've all done, I mean, even if you just go to high school, start your career, like that was 13 years to finish, your education and get a diploma.
To hopefully make a salary, right? So it's like whatever your goal is, and let's say in a business endeavor, kind of have those same expectations.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Right? Like to have the expectation, I'll get my doctorate in a week. That's an unrealistic expectation. My friend's dad owns a garage door company, and his son runs it. And he's like, I'm not starting my own because my dad built this for 30 years. He's like, if I started my own, it would take me 30 years to get where he's at.
Right.
And so I think that's huge. Did you have any?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the biggest things were like, I grew up a performer. So I always thought like that was like my path. That was my calling. I was always going to do that. And I was already naturally really good at like acting and dancing. Those are like my two things. And my mentor in that field would always tell me like, well, you need a third one. You got to be a triple threat. Like you got to work at it. And I had to learn how to sing. And a lot of people think like singing, for example, is a natural talent. They think that like, if you don't got it, you don't got it.
I don't have it.
And so, but believe it or not, you can actually learn how to sing. You can learn how to be a good singer. But a lot of people don't know that. And so it's similar to you. Like if people are not naturally good at something, it's easy to abandon. And then so for me, I had to learn that skill set. I had to continue getting better. But what I learned in that phase was like, I just learned how to work really hard. Right. Like I was like, eventually, like I'm gonna, throw enough mud at the wall that it'll stick. Something will eventually stick. And that worked for that phase in my life. So when I pivoted into entrepreneurship and business ownership, and I tried to like work my way out of everything, I would get really frustrated because I wasn't willing to take guidance.
Yeah, solopreneurship. I had gone that route a little bit. It is very lonely. And, you have to build a network. I remember at one point, I was doing some digital entrepreneurship type things exclusively like just through websites. And I was paying $200 a month to be a part of a community just to be able to ask questions on Slack. Wow. Right? Like I didn't even know who the people I was asking. Yeah. And I always, one thing we talk about when we're potentially looking at like maybe expanding our team, we talk to them a lot about like understanding, okay, not to say you don't have options, but what options do you have when it comes to access? Do you have a bunch of people that you can currently access for guidance who can help you get through some of these, we'll call them growing pains, these sticking points. And I think that's something I always fall back on, right? Because business ownership is always challenging. Yeah. It is, I don't want to say it's time consuming, but you have to prioritize your time.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
We just took a little bit of idle time.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit in the beginning, and then we slowly expanded our plate. And through that, we were able to start building a true viable asset. And I think sometimes people don't look at direct sales, network marketing. They think it's like a gimmick. They think, maybe like there's no way you could actually build a successful business there. But if you look at the 4 traits of business ownership, it's usually going to be like understanding finances. So accounting and taxes kind of go together, I guess. And then the other one's sales. So you're always going to have a service or product that you're going to have to be able to demonstrate or provide. Yep. But the last one is leadership. What is the great separator from, if you own one restaurant and then someone else has 100 restaurants? What's the difference if they both serve the same food? It's usually the ability to scale and lead. It's leading other people. And so for us, we're all about leadership, whether that's leading our family, leading ourselves. And so I think when we look to take on new partnerships, you know, and I'm sure I'd like to hear what you guys look at too. We really look at someone that's like willing to lead themselves, because that's where we started. We didn't start with these amazing leadership skills. I mean, maybe I had a little bit of advantage as a coach, but it wasn't like I was some savvy business guy. And I think that's what I love so much is like anyone can come from any walk of life.
Absolutely.
I mean, we all look the same, right? But we're from a different area. You guys from and you can come from any walk of life. You can take a same opportunity. I mean, we've heard stories of people literally were college students, no jobs, starting a business.